So, England's and Henry VII's relationship with Spain. So, Spain was becoming a major player in Europe, and it was becoming a major player because the marriage of Isabella of Castile to Ferdinand of Aragon had united Spain. Um, Spain was also an attractive proposition to Henry because France was traditionally England's biggest enemy, as seen with the Brittany crisis. And Ferdinand and Isabella, they also had beef with France, in particular of the Italian principalities that they were scrapping over, but also because Spain had their eyes on Navarre, which France had taken from Spain, so they wanted that back. So there is this new European power who have issues with the French. They were a natural bedfellow as far as Henry VII was concerned. So much of Henry's reign was concerned with trying to make himself a power, trying to make himself a force on the European stage. And he feels he can do this through marriage alliances. And he's quite fortunate in that his first child was a male child. So he can use Arthur, his heir, in the marriage market to seal a diplomatic agreement with another power. So this is what he does with the youngest daughter of Ferdinand of Aragon and Isabella of Castile. And this is what brings Catherine of Aragon, who's going to be such an important feature of English history over the next 30 odd years, to England in the first place. So this is agreed at the Treaty of Medina del Campo in 1489. So what this does, what the Treaty of Medina del Campo does, is firstly, as I mentioned, it brings about the marriage of Henry VII's heir, Arthur, to the youngest daughter of Isabella of Castile and Ferdinand of Aragon, Catherine of Aragon. Secondly, it brings, Catherine brought a dowry with her. She brought some cash. She brought about £40,000 to England, which was to be paid in instalments, but we all know how highly Henry regarded money. Thirdly, Spain said that they would not help any English rebels. So this is just before Perkin Warbeck, but it's after Lambert Simnel. So Henry's seen this. It's after the Battle of Stoke. It's after the Lovell Rebellion. So for obvious reasons, that would be of appeal to Henry. Trade was to be improved, although it wasn't improved that significantly. And importantly, each would help the other power in war against France if they ever found themselves at war against France. And with the Breton crisis, you can see why this would be appealing. So Henry and Ferdinand and Isabella, they do have some disagreements. They don't agree on the same things. Ferdinand is more bothered about obviously reconquering the lands that he's lost to Spain. For Henry, it's all about recognition. So it's not a match made in heaven. And also, Isabella dies in 1504. And when Isabella of Castile dies, Spain is no longer the attractive ally that it once was when it was united. At this point, of course, Arthur has died, and also Elizabeth of York, Henry VII's wife, had died as well. So when Isabella of Castile dies, Henry is reluctant to do what many would consider the right thing, to arrange the marriage between his second son and his heir, Henry, who goes on to be Henry VIII, and Catherine of Aragon. So Henry moves to a more Burgundian alliance. Philip of Burgundy had claimed Castile for himself by his marriage to Juana, and this meant that really, was Catherine as attractive in what she brought to England diplomatically at this point? She probably wasn't. So the last years of Henry's regime, of Henry's reign, become increasingly, I'll say unsuccessful, even though I want you to reach your own conclusions. And the reason for that is Spain and France become ever closer. And this basically means that Spain no longer need England's friendship. This is a problem when Philip the Fair dies, and Ferdinand is able to take over Castile because he says that his daughter Juana, or Joanna, is known as Joanna the Mad, so he takes over Castile because she is mentally unstable and unable to rule it. So Henry has made an enemy of himself in Ferdinand, and at the end of his reign, France and Spain are being drawn closer together. So this isolates England, and ironically, the marriage between Henry and Catherine of Aragon, it becomes more attractive after Isabella's death, but particularly after Philip the Fair's death. So basically, by 1508, Spain had abandoned Henry, and England looked a little bit vulnerable on the international stage.